Sara. She's here today. We're going to talk a little bit this afternoon about symptoms of cancer and screening, and basically, as it says on the screen, cancer and COVID. So, Sara, tell me a little bit how you've been keeping yourself busy in the last sort of 6 weeks now you've been on lockdown?
It is, yes. My routine's shifted quite a lot. I've not got out of bed at the normal time. I've tended to sleep in a little bit. But I've tried to keep momentum by doing some exercise. That's a lot different to the norm when you're used to getting in the car and going to the gym, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So having to motivate yourself to do it on your own is something else. I have been busy in the garden though. For the first time ever, I've planted courgettes, which are just starting to show. And I believe I'll be able to feed the street by the end of it.
So you've become a commercial grower of
Sowing the seeds of love.
Oh, commercial courgette grower. I love it.
Yes, and I won't have to have so much veg delivered to my doorstep.
There is another bonus there. Then obviously you're going to be feeding everyone courgettes. Courgette is something.
Courgette fritters, courgette pancakes,
courgette cake.
Yeah, I've tried to get back to nature, really, back to basics, because I love the outdoors. I love flowers. So yesterday I spent all day cutting and conditioning flowers, made some amazing arrangements, and they're kind of thank yous from the heart for those people that are delivering food. I'm most gracious that they're putting food on my table.
Mm-hmm.
How are you spending your time?
Technology.
It's my pet hate.
I've learned so much about technology. I'm like a technical wizard, honestly. You'll be surprised. Look how pretty the screen looks. It's incredible.
I'll sign up for some lessons then.
To be honest with you, I'm quite lucky really, because I've been running a sort of a reduced clinic for people. I've had an awful lot of people coming with like really acute severe pain, and I think a large portion of the problem is that we're not as active, we're not moving around, we're not even getting in the car going to work and walking around the building at work. People are utilizing their home space as an office, and it's not ideal. And then of course they're doing something that's really simple, or like it doesn't feel like it's going to be a big impact, or they might normally have been able to cope with it. Like something like just carrying some shopping, and then they're really kind of, the body's not ready for it and used to it, and actually then they put themselves in quite a difficult position. Injured, a lot of pain, a lot of discomfort, and not very many places you can go to seek any assistance, because the GP, it's a phone conversation. They've got back pain, they might get a prescription of painkillers, but that's about as much as the advice they're getting. So actually I've seen quite a lot of people in that situation. And obviously I'm still keeping busy with my exercise, because I know how important it is for me to keep moving, because if I don't, then I seize up and I would end up being one of those people needing some painkillers.
I must say, I've noticed a huge difference in my stamina, my energy levels, and I know that it's going to be quite a trial getting back to the fitness that I had. Because as you know, with my cancer journey, with chemotherapy and other drugs, I lost the ability to walk, to use my arms. I was very reliant on my mum, who used to dress, feed me, and it was so important to me post all treatment that I could get fit.
Yeah.
So I was driven to be fit, and now I feel almost like I've got the handcuffs on.
Yeah.
I don't have the choice in the same way that I had before to saunter in the park for anything. I'm just walking up one step, and stepping down off that one in the garden just to kind of get some kind of movement in my legs.
Mm-hmm.
And most of my workout is gardening, to be fair. So I'm looking forward to being able to go to the gym, have a massage, treat myself to a weekend away to say, right, jump start it, let's get back on it.
Mm-hmm.
You can do classes online. There is the virtual stuff, but as people, we're missing something in terms of
Yeah.
connectivity and being able to check what the responses are. You'll know yourself, Emma, from doing the live gym sessions. You keep saying, yeah, well done, that's great. Well done, guys. And you can't see us we're on the floor sweating, thinking, what? You want us to do that?
I know. And to be honest with you, though, there's a few things wrong with. I don't like doing the lives. I do them because it's helpful. I can't see if anyone's watching me at all. I feel like I'm talking to myself
Which
for the
you
hour,
are.
which I am. And then on top of that, like you said, I'm doing something that I think is within people's capability, but you're all like in a pool of sweat on the floor somewhere, and I can't tell. It's brilliant.
The bonus is nobody can see what we can and can't do. I have to keep playing it to do 10-minute installments because I think there's no way this is going to beat me.
And that's one of the brilliant things, though, actually, because you can do that. And of course, because they're all saved as a video, you can go back to it and do it at another point, or you can split it into two halves if you want to. I just like to, clearly end up in a pool of sweat. Problem is that you can all see me. You're all there laughing at the fact that I'm sweating like a crazy woman, and then you're all in the comfort of your own home going, "Hey, check me out, all right."
It is funny though, because I speak to my mum every day and say, what have you done? How have you spent your time? And all the time I say, I've done some exercise, and she goes, "Oh, well done, that's great." And I think I worry about her because she walked a lot every day, and obviously she's on lockdown. She's not leaving the home, and we have something in common. We both like gardens, and she luckily has a big one. But she's talking about things like swollen ankles, swollen feet. And I know all of this is the side effects of not being fit. And it's like, how do we encourage that? Because the virtual stuff is just not in the reach of that age group. What
No.
I call silver surfers.
Yeah.
Obviously with adoration, but I don't know how we can kickstart that and encourage it. It frustrates me because there's no quick answer, is there really?
No. And I think that, Sport England have said it's great that people are getting out and doing all this new exercise and activity, but I think they're probably the people who are more missing the gym. I'm not sure that there'll be an increase in people who are active. There might be some people who've taken up activity because they're not working and they've got the time and they feel like they need to do something, but I'm not sure if that would be a long-term effect of the pandemic. The age group that you're talking about, and actual facts, like not even people that age, there are people who don't have Facebook, they don't have access to these lives. And trying to facilitate something for them is really important. Obviously, I know you're aware. I was involved in the project for Escape Pain, which is about arthritis and hip and knee specifically. Now, that is a group of people who will fundamentally avoid movement because it hurts. And in actual fact, they need to move because that will help to reduce that pain. But it is a very real issue that I think we've found. I mean, my husband's just been put on furlough for another month, so he's not going back to work until June. It's a very real issue, and I think coming at the other end, there's that one that is those people are an issue and a concern. But I think we need to be very, very aware that actually my worry is the NHS are going to be put under more pressure when the pandemic's finished because of a backlog of people who've not been able to get physio, people who need these appointments, people who have avoided making contact because they're worried. And I think that is where we're really going to have an impact on the NHS if things are not done carefully.
You're so right. I mean, there's a lot of subsets here. I hear of those that say they're fitter than they've ever been before because they're going for long walks, they're not using their car, they're doing Zumba online, they're doing exercise online, and they're saying to me, I've never been as fit, it's great for me. But then I'm seeing those that are kind of isolated because they don't have technology. I think of Joyce, bless her. What a lady. She has been gardening and she's mastered how to video and given me a tour of a garden now. I'm really proud of that. But she,
wizard, you see, that's what it is.
yeah. So that's like an 84-year-old learning technology, and she's overdone it because she wanted a beautiful garden.
Yeah.
So we've had to break things down. We've had conversations about pacing yourself. So she's gone too far, so has over damaged it. But then there's those that are doing very little. So the back is obviously one of the big areas that's seizing up. People are sat more, they're laid in bed more. So yeah, I think that's going to be a knock-on of appointments for the NHS. But I also am concerned of so many people having ailments and saying, oh, I don't want to go to my GP, or my GP's not available. The true fact is that the GPs are sat waiting for the phones to ring.
Yeah.
I rang my GP about getting a text about shielding and should I be on that list. And I was rung back within 5 minutes. So it was kind of, why aren't people ringing the GP? I know there's a lot of people through cancer journeys that are concerned to ring and concerned to go to surgery because of the threat of COVID-19. But cancer and other ailments are going to be there after COVID-19.
Yeah.
So it's going to be exacerbated, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and it is. I mean, we've got a few comments. Alyssa says she likes your bunting. I don't know if you can see that comment on the screen.
No, I'm thinking the best of British, and it's someone's birthday today. So at 4 o'clock, we're all going to have afternoon tea in our homes. So it's all prepped in the fridge, and I've made a mocktail.
We've got courgette in it.
There's no alcohol in the house. It's totally dry.
You can have a courgette mocktail. I love it.
Yeah. Hi, Julie. I can see we've got a question there that those that are working at home are not taking breaks, so they're feeling back pain. Again, how do we pace ourselves properly? There's a fine line between being appreciative of having a job, earning an income, and giving it your all. But are you getting up and taking 5 and 10 minutes, Julie?
You have to make sure, don't you, that you treat it as though you would when you're at work. And one of the things that I'm always talking to my patients about is moving away from the desk. You know, it's okay that you're told to have the break for the eyes away from the computer screen, but you need to physically move. Human beings are dynamic by nature. We're not sedentary. We're not supposed to sit for long term. And there was an article about 6 months ago that did the rounds about sitting in an office being the equivalent of smoking, as bad for your health as that. Now, I'm not sure if that's an accurate description, but certainly I know that, you know, if you're sitting, your lymphatics are not moving, your return blood isn't getting pumped up. You know, you need to move around because that's a health. It's a health for your body, for your musculoskeletal system. So it's if you're working from home, you need to make sure that you treat your home as though you would do a normal work environment and get up away from your desk and move around. But you have the added advantage of being able to do additional stretches because you can utilize the space. You're not going to be laughed at by your work colleagues if you're doing a few squats in your living room, you know? So it's almost like a perfect opportunity to create those good habits for moving forward. If you're not in the habit of taking regular breaks when you're at work, get into that habit now. So when you do go back to your office, you're already in that routine. And I think that would make it more versatile to be able to get a positive from the situation that we're in. Um, I
The
I
sun's
do,
shining, isn't it? So why
yeah.
aren't we taking 5 minutes outdoors, get 5 minutes vitamin D, look at the flowers, listen to those birds. They're really tweeting loud at the minute. Um, I'm just picking up a message there, Julie. I am, but feedback I'm hearing is many are not. Okay, so Julie is doing the right thing, but she fears.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean, Julie. So if it shows on your system at work that you're not available, then people are worried that they're going to be obviously persecuted maybe by the work. I think she means.
Okay,
So, yeah, I
it could
understand.
be around call load, workload.
Yeah, and that is something that I think people are very conscious of. And going back to what we were saying about going out, I think there's almost a fear of being seen out as well. If you're supposed to be at work or you're furloughed and you're working from home, if you're supposed to not be out and seen out, and there's still an awful lot of confusion. I know we talked on the radio the other day about the words and the terminology. There's still confusion about what we're allowed to actually do.
Mm,
And I think some people I've spoken to don't want to go out for a long walk because they're thought that somebody might persecute them for doing it. So I think there's that element to it as well. So I think Julie's right. I think there's a worry that work might wonder what they're up to, or they're not doing their jobs properly at home. But I think that work need to be understanding of the fact that you're not in the right environment. So you need
mm.
to move more because you might not be supplied with the right desk and chair setup. You might be on a laptop instead of a desktop computer, so you can't sit how you should be. So if work do have a complaint about that, I'm sure that there would be a bit more understanding at this point in time. Um,
It's interesting, Emma, because I'm conscious that there's some employers that have been absolutely amazing, set kit up at home for people so that
yeah.
they can, let's say, do banking to keep the economy going.
Mhm.
Um, it might be NHS workers working from home, dealing with patients. But some of those previous rules around how long you're plugged in, what your call load is a driver around the workout output that you have to achieve. I'm conscious of some people that have been through cancer feeling they've got to do more than they did before
Yeah.
so that they're not a drain,
Yeah.
and they're thankful for what they've been given, their job's being kept open. And there's
Hmm.
almost that slave to the job um, conditioning of the mind at the moment to keep
Yeah.
busy.
Yeah.
And I think it's a fine line between having that work home life balance.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we are going to be sick. Um, I personally couldn't sit at a desk in a proper job anymore. I physically couldn't do it.
Hmm.
Um, I sleep a lot, which means I need to do exercise in between more.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I will seize up. Um, it's a strange one. I can see that Alyssa's there saying that her back pain is much better after using Emma's exercises. Alyssa's working from home, but also crafting, gardening, and painting furniture. So it looks like you're the one holding the garden party after this, Alyssa. And perhaps we could do a workout at the same time.
We could do a workout in the garden and then have a garden party.
Yeah. I'll bring the flags and the
Excellent.
courgettes.
Yeah. No, it's true, and I don't think a lot of people consider that. That there is that almost an additional pressure for the fact that you are grateful for your job. I couldn't sit at a desk and do a desk job because physically I'd be in too much pain. But then I have a job where I'm not required to do that. So actually, I'm sitting down a lot more now than I was before, to do things like this, and I'm conscious of that. So I try to make sure I do more movement and more stretches than I would do on a normal day. But I think jobs are really interesting and the legalities of it, because I was asked a question, if you're being told that you're supposed to be shielding but don't feel like you should be, are you actually allowed to choose to go back to work yourself? Or is it a legal issue? So I've asked a friend of mine, Jodie. She runs Thrive Law, and she's going to join us on Saturday to have a chat if people want to ask questions about the legalities. So that's great, and I have to thank her for sharing her expertise. But it's something that it struck me when I was asked, because I feel well, and I suppose if you feel well, you want to feel as normal as possible. And if you've been given instruction to do something other than that, I it's almost like going against your instinct, isn't it, really?
I think this goes back to how I say, let's flip things on its head. Where we're in lockdown, the words themselves suggest we've done something wrong.
Yeah.
And shielding to me is like armour. It's like we're in a fight. I don't think the words are helpful. I think they're there to shock us into a certain kind of behaviour. There's a lot of conflicting information. I think that's the biggie for me, because a lot of cancer patients received the text about having to shield, stay in the house. Some said you could only open your window and have a view of your garden. And it's like, if you are lucky enough to have a garden and you are 2 meters away from a neighbour, surely that vitamin D and that fresh air is better for your mental health.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with doing that. But some people that live in a flat that can't get out, and they can only open the window 2 inch, and they might have a communal garden, they don't have that choice.
Yeah.
And I think a blanket message is not, it's not been the best idea. But the new texts that are coming through are causing absolute chaos, because for cancer patients that have been through treatment or are on continued treatment, the next wave has been around stay at home, don't leave your house. The next one is saying don't forget to keep fit. There's kind of a bit of a contradiction there.
Okay. Yeah.
And then there's a next tranche of texts that have come through, and these have not come from the government. These have come from GP practices on a what looks like a mobile number. So you're kind of questioning, is this a legitimate message? And then there's letters coming through the door which has got your NHS number on. So you think, yes, it's legitimate. Now, having questioned around various services and the Cancer Alliance, these are legitimate. But we're talking about people that have been through treatment, sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5, even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And these are being sent out for those that have got an underlying condition. And if you've got one of those texts and you think, I shouldn't be on that list, I would certainly say, ring your GP and say, should I be on this list? And it could be something simple like you've got diabetes, you've got another illness, and that is why, because you're going to be at higher risk if you contract COVID-19. But I cannot tell you, Friday night when they sent those messages out from 5 o'clock onwards, until now really, my my phone line, texts, private messages. I wanted to say, time out, guys. Everyone was panicked,
Yeah.
and I did contact a few other cancer support groups, and it's obviously just been rolled out by GPs now. But there are a lot of people on that list that don't need to be.
Yeah.
So if in doubt, check it out. It's just like if you've got a symptom, if you find a lump or something that is different in your normal body
Yeah.
function, you must ring your GP. They'll do a telephone or a video chat with you,
Mm.
and you will get seen.
Mm.
Yes, there was the immediacy of let's deal with COVID-19, but the Cancer Alliance are saying to me now, we've ramped it back up. Cancer services are open. Let's get back on top of it.
Sorry, that's my husband's just poked his head around the door there.
Hello, Tony.
I, in terms of symptoms, I've been saying to people who've contacted me through my page and wellness centre, if it's a new symptom of any description, if it's something has changed, it might seem insignificant, but actually, it will need you need to tell somebody and ask somebody about it.
For
There's
sure, because otherwise, if we wait till lockdown is over, you're
Mhm.
damn sure you're not going to get an appointment then.
Yeah, take advantage. It's quite like what we were saying at the beginning, isn't it? There could well be a backlog. So your treatment and your appointments could actually be further apart than they should be because of that influx that there will be once we're out of the lockdown period. I mean, I know. We were talking to Dr. Sumi Chatterjee.
Yeah,
She has some great advice, but one of her biggest messages was, you must go to your GP.
yeah.
We need to think long term, not short term. If we're in lockdown till the end of June, that's the end of June. That phase of your life is done and dusted. The next phase of your life, you want to be healthy and live your best life. So don't delay it now, because that could affect the rest of your life. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's sort of been missed on the media and the news. It's almost like they've gone just down a very sort of blinkered pathway of don't put pressure on the NHS, which has created that generalized fear of putting pressure on the NHS, which is valid, but there's still other conditions and other situations medically that need to be taken into account.
Let's go back pre-COVID-19. I remember going to A&E with my dad and waiting 4 hours. You don't wait anymore. So it
Mm,
just shows how many people really needed to go to A&E and how resilient are we?
that's so true. My friend bought herself a skateboard because obviously, now's the time to learn to skateboard.
How old is she?
Well, yeah, never mind. And of course, the inevitable thing happened, didn't it? She fell off and she broke her arm. Did she think that it was going to go well? Anyway, she took herself down to A&E, and I won't say which one it was, but the normal waiting time she was in, she had seen someone, she had an x-ray, she had a cast on, and she was back out in an hour.
That's pretty, yeah, that says everything. It speaks
Yeah,
volumes, doesn't it?
and that was a very, very busy hospital, A&E. And she was astounded and decided that she's going to go and get everything done. So I'm going to do an hour queue, I'm going to go now.
It makes me smile, actually, because, as you know, I was referred out of area for 2 surgeries. I thought and questioned, why would I need to have 1 surgery, recover, and then have another surgery?
Mhm.
And it was hard joining up 2 consultants to talk to each other in different areas, but it made sense. Let's do 2 surgeries together, but you will have to travel to Sheffield, which not the best outcome, but you know what? The best outcome is I would recover quickly.
Yeah.
So all of that has gone on the back burner. Am I bothered? No, because someone else needs treatment before me with COVID. But those appointments are going to be a huge backlog. There's so much catch-up time. It's going to be, I don't know what to say for all the nurses, the doctors, the consultants. They've all been redeployed into different roles. They're dealing with things like death that they wouldn't normally. But we're alive, we're at home, and if we've got a symptom, surely that you would check it out with your GP.
Mm-hmm.
We were given pre-COVID-19 the belief that we would never get an appointment. There's loads of slots now.
Yeah.
It's if you have a lump, you will get referred into a fast track system. You get a symptom, and it seems odd. The fast track system is the safest way to stop something from progressing. So I
Mm-hmm.
just don't understand. I know there's fears, but I can't get my head around why you wouldn't want to do something.
Mm.
How do we encourage that?
I think there has to be more talk and transparency about the reality of the situation. So, starting off by removing unnecessary pressure on the NHS. So, as we've just said, the A&E system now is very quick because the people who would turn up just, I'm not sure if they think it's a night out or an afternoon out or something, but they turn up for things that don't need to be seen in an A&E. That's now highlighted that, but there's the real kind of issue of people fearing putting extra pressure on NHS, but also coming into contact with the COVID coronavirus in a hospital situation or a GP situation, that I think is really stopping people from making that decision.
Yeah, it is a fear, and I, as you know, run the Mid Yorkshire Breast Cancer Support Group. We have ladies that have had treatment halted or told if you have chemotherapy, you're high risk of COVID-19. So let's do the immediate thing. Let's
Mm-hmm.
ensure that you have surgery and you will be in a theatre that is completely cleansed after each operation. Yes, it was cleansed before, but to a totally different level. And they're getting people into the hospital for surgery and out as soon as possible so that you recover better at home.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, some have had surgery and won't find out results for 2 weeks. But you know what? That was the same 2-week wait period as before.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good that, these services are running alongside what's happening with this virus. I think we have to be proactive. This
Mm.
could manifest into something else.
Mm.
And if it's a fear around cancer or any other illness, we need to get a grip, don't we?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, as you said, we don't want it to manifest into something. I know the government are dealing with this initial issue and having to get through this particular phase for the whole country.
Mm.
But we know that the economics are going to be affected and finances and businesses for a long time. But I think the medical NHS system is going to have more impact than people are even thinking about at the minute.
Yeah.
We do need to go and get checked. I mean, I told you my personal story. I'd rung up my GPs at the beginning of this, and it had turned me straight to 111. And because I didn't want to take up a possible slot that somebody who had COVID-19 was wanting to ring for, I put the phone down. But now that it seems to have reached a bit more of a balance, you can now get back in touch with a GP and have a conversation. That's what I've done, because you have to still safeguard yourself. And it isn't, like you say, it isn't just cancer. It is all sorts of other symptoms. I heard that stroke and heart attack rates of turning up to A&E have reduced. I mean, we're not as a nation suddenly having less strokes and heart attacks. that can't be true, because actually we're doing less, we're probably drinking more, and we're sitting around and eating more food than normal. So I think that's probably gone up, plus all of the stress. Stress is a massive factor.
Do you think this is a particular British thing, or do you think it's universal? Because I see a stiff British upper lip where we queue, for God's sake. The Germans don't.
No.
They're known for the towels on their sunbeds first thing in the morning.
Even
They
when
rise early.
you're not allowed to put it there, they still do it anyway.
We're used to queuing, aren't we? And
Yeah.
you go first.
It's a very orderly fashion around it. Yeah. I think we've got issues here, because if you think about the Britishness and then Yorkshire on top of that,
Hey up, mate.
we've just created like the most stubborn kind of, I'm not going to go and get it sorted out kind of thing. Because I think in Yorkshire we will put up and shut up a little bit more than perhaps other areas, and that's something that we've been trying to work with for a long time before this, to encourage people out of those habits. And it's a lot of it is cultural. I think it's almost that strength, that stoical kind of mentality and the character that we have. But then, like you say, Britishness itself, we do have that attitude. But I think there's an awful lot of respect for the NHS. It's a system that we're very lucky to have. It is free medical care, and other countries don't have that same luxury. And I wouldn't want to put pressure on them. But at the same time, I think now we need to start, and the government and the media need to start talking about other conditions that still need to be treated, and you need to take it seriously. I mean, for me now, the message needs to slightly shift, and they need to start talking about these issues to help prevent it manifesting into something else further down the line. And I think that's a very real thing that they need to start doing.
I relate back to being in the gym and working out, and my body let me down with cancer. And my mindset was, I can't do this. I don't know how to do it. But by being encouraged and being in a group situation, we were able to spur each other on and achieve things we never expected. Now, I think if we test the system to the limits like we have, we've already shown with the NHS that it can manage. There's a lot of negativity about breaking point. My body was at breaking point, but I pulled myself up. The NHS is absolutely astounding. We love it for the fact that it's free, the dedication, and it will pull its socks back up. But financially, I can see things like when people have those appointments and they don't turn up, I really think they should be fined, because do you know what? It's free.
Yeah.
And those people that have got letters to attend screening, like regular mammograms, I can see, Alyssa, that you're just posing the question, do you think that there will be mammograms commencing? Well, yes, they've just been delayed for obvious reasons. Without sounding condescending, it would be safer to have that a couple of months down the line than right now and walking into a hospital. And that doesn't mean I'm scaring you to say, don't go to a hospital if there's something wrong with you. Not everybody is dying of COVID-19. It's not, yes, it's to be feared because the amount of deaths we're seeing in the figures on the news, but we're not seeing all that wonderful news of, do you know what? 250 people just walked out of Pinterfields or St James's. This should be applauded because that is good news. So, yes, Alyssa, mammograms, cervical screenings, all of these things will come back into play. It's just been delayed for a few months. But again, that few months might be a few more because of the backlog.
I think you've struck on something very poignant there. All we're seeing is the devastating outcomes of COVID-19. We're not seeing how many people have either had it and didn't even realize, or have survived it. Those to me are what the media should now be saying. Celebrate the NHS, celebrate the work that we're doing by keeping indoors. Look at how many people have got through this with a positive outcome, because we need to shift the mindset. We've been now in lockdown, and it's very difficult to maintain positivity when you're very solitary. Like you said, a group atmosphere is so important. And cancer, Yorkshire Cancer Research, helping people to keep communication, that's great. And it's necessary, because we need to keep each other going.
Yeah, I
we've
wonder if
all,
I could just interrupt you there, Emma. For any cancer support groups that need to stay connected, that can't have their regular drop-in meetings, if you contact Andy Taylor at Yorkshire Cancer Research, you can just Google his name. They have a teleconferencing service, and you can have up to 49 people on a teleconferencing call at the same time. Now, this has proved invaluable for the Mid Yorkshire Breast Cancer Support Group, because we've had newly diagnosed people that are wanting to talk about, is this normal? With COVID 19, does this mean they've said I can't have chemotherapy and they're going to give me endocrine therapy, which all these labels are like COVID 19 to me. The new labels mean that they will have to have oral medication, surgery first to get rid of the problem, oral meds, and it might be in a few months chemotherapy, dependent on the outcome. But on the flip side of the coin, yet again, it might be that medically we see a new trend that works with cancer.
yeah.
Might be that that chemo might have not been necessary. So I
Hmm.
think we have to look at everything with a positive and say, yeah, I hate that word, the new norm, which is a label that any cancer patient is told. And now with COVID 19, everyone says the new norm. It's not. It's not normal. It's it's certainly new, but it's just a topsy turvy land at the minute, isn't it?
Hmm.
But
Absolutely.
keeping connected, keeping talking, is about maintaining our mental health. Because if you're sat in four walls, someone drops food at your door, that's the only conversation you're getting.
Yeah, exactly. And that isn't, and again, as well as the saying that we're dynamic beings, we're also social animals.
Yeah.
Not social as in going out and partying in a pub, but we're social. We need social contact. It's important to have that. So I think there's an awful lot of good things. Certainly, I've made more effort to talk to people that I probably wouldn't have done had this not been something that it happened. I would probably still be doing the same things. But I think we need people to understand a message that the if you are feeling on your own and you're worried about something, you need to tell somebody, and you can be pointed in the right direction, signposted. If it's a mental health issue, if it's any kind of medical, there's a physical change in your body, you need to let somebody know.
The good thing is that each area, be it Wakefield, Leeds, wherever you are in the country, each area has set up a hub with a local council. So I know some people, like myself, they're at home on their own. If you are unable to get food parcels or prescriptions, there is a force out there that you just ring your local council and they'll literally send people to support you. Now, that to me is stepping up and above and beyond. That
Hmm.
is something great that's come out of COVID.
Hmm.
But I also think, in terms of health and diet, there's nothing in the media saying, "Do you know what? You should be doing something about your diet to as a preventative of getting COVID 19." So many people are mixing it up with, oh, I've got symptoms, but guess what? There's a blossom tree in my back garden, so it could be hay fever.
Hmm.
These are the simple questions that we can talk to our GPs about.
Yeah.
Um,
You're absolutely right with the hay fever. Silver birch at the moment is causing people to have a cough. You know, my mum's one of them, and she knows that this happens every year, and she's reminded herself that it's happened, but she's monitored the other things around that. So obviously, a hay fever, a clear difference is you don't get a temperature. Your fever, you don't get a fever with a hay fever. So a hay fever with a hay fever. But there are additional things to look for that if you were in doubt, you could speak to your GP about.
yeah.
So it's better to check than to hang back and think I'll be okay. I mean, you know, my mum just rings me and says, "Is this normal?" Well, Mum, you're never normal, but
God help you.
but you've got you know, nutrition is important for boosting your immune system. Being active is important for your immune system, but also sleep is important for your immune system. So if you have a new symptom and you are worried and you're stressing about that and you haven't got it checked and it's in the back of your mind, that affects your sleep pattern. So all of these things add up to actually reducing your immunity and meaning that actually you are more vulnerable. But through kind of the back door of events. So if you are mindful about your nutrition, your activity, and it does make me laugh when I sometimes see these sleep things that say, "Oh, improve your sleeping by stressing less." Oh, okay, yeah,
Okay.
I never thought of that. You see,
I mean, there are some fantastic apps out there to help you with mindfulness and to wind down before bedtime. But
yeah,
it's a lot of that common sense stuff, isn't it? Because at the moment, I think most of us are doing or using more technology than ever before to stay in touch.
yeah,
And it's getting that sleep hygiene back in place where at least an hour before you shut everything off.
mm-hmm,
Um, because otherwise you're wired and you're thinking all night and you're not sleeping.
mm-hmm,
I have a terrible sleep pattern anyway. I tend to sleep in 4 hour blocks and then I need to get up to keep busy because my mind is active. I'll do something for about an hour and then I need an hour to come down and then I can go back to bed.
mm-hmm,
But I know that that is normal for me because of side effects of what I've been through.
yep,
If other people are noticing differences in their sleep patterns, it's worth, isn't it, keeping a sleep diary as well as a food diary. If you're noticing your energy levels changing, you might map out certain patterns and you can think, well, actually, if that's all I ate today because I've been lazy, I've done it to myself. You
mm-hmm,
know, I would normally have 3 meals a day. And about 3 days ago, I thought, do you know what? I really don't want to eat. I'm
yep,
I'm looking in the fridge and there's nothing I want to eat.
mm-hmm,
And it was just my mood set the tone.
yep,
And I went outside, gardened, and I thought, I'm absolutely ravenous.
mm-hmm.
And I never eat a full English breakfast. What was that about? That
Oh,
meant
really?
I just
Big
had breakfast and lunch in one go.
It's true that, and that's one of the things that, like, keeping a diary is great. A lot of people I've been talking to from a nutrition point, you know, there's a lot of people that are putting weight on even though they're being careful, and tracking is very, very important. But you have to remember that your life is probably not as active as it was. You know, if I'm at work all day, I'm on my feet from 10 o'clock until 8 p.m. and I'm walking around constantly. There's a level of calorific output there that isn't in a day if I'm sat in front of a computer. And I might be eating exactly the same, and I might have done the same in the gym, but my general output has lessened. So
Yeah.
keeping a track of those things helps you to see it logically. We tend to overthink things as adults. We tend to add too much logic to things and not the emotion. And then when the emotion comes into it, because you're possibly putting on weight and you don't want to be, it confuses and you don't look at it as succinctly as you should.
And
So
conversely, if someone is working out double what they've done before
yeah,
and they're getting on the scales, you know where I'm coming from here,
yeah,
and the scales say you've put on weight,
yeah.
it's not always about what you put in your mouth and what you've done exercise wise
No,
wrong, is it?
no, and that's why you need to think of measuring something else. So go on your clothes. How do your clothes fit? Have your clothes got tighter? Because whatever the scale says doesn't determine where that extra weight's come from.
It
So
could be
you
muscle, couldn't it?
it could exactly, it could be muscle quite easily if you're doing more strength work, especially. But at the same time, you need to remember that stress makes you retain and hold water. So especially for people who I'm talking to a lady this morning, you know, if you've had an operation and that's a recent physical stress, you know, it does look on the scale like you've added on weight, but you haven't. It's a water retention, it's a body protecting itself.
Mm-hmm.
Now if you're mentally stressed through this whole thing, that will be very similar. So we're more likely to hold water, feel swollen, bloated. And then, you know, if we're not eating our diet as good as normal, there's all snacking, maybe extra, having the odd alcoholic beverage because we can, because we're not at work. All those things add up. But you're right. If you're working out more than normal, it could be that you're putting on good weight, which is muscle mass. Um, I always tell people to do inches. You know, measure your inches. Go by clothes. Forget the scales to a point, because if you're training the way you want to, which I'm assuming is losing fat but putting on muscle mass, you want to get more toned but lose mass.
I
You
need
know,
to get back into that camp.
if you
In
want
fact,
that,
this conversation is making me feel guilty. So that will be me doing more exercise today. Hmm.
and that's not why I brought it up, obviously.
No,
But
thank you for that, Emma. I needed that kick.
But it's true though, isn't it? If you're going, if you most people, when they say I want to lose weight, what they mean is they want to lose fat. So actually, if you ignore the scale to a point and do inches and size measurements, it gives you a better indication.
I wonder if we could just briefly go back to diet, because I'm conscious that a lot of people that are starting a treatment journey for any illness are concerned about what should they eat.
Mm-hmm,
I noticed Edwina just popped up there and explained how quickly she'd had a referral.
mm-hmm.
She got a call on Thursday and she's got an appointment today, and she will be having a scan shortly. I think that's pretty damn fast. Um, in terms of diet,
Mm-hmm.
what would you suggest in terms of people improving their immunity, knowing that they might be having surgery or further treatment? What do they need to look at, Emma?
I would look at that in two different ways. A generalized boosting of an immune system is a little bit different to if you knowing you have an operation, because your body will be working in two slightly different ways. You need to boost your immune system for both, but repair element is different, I think, for surgery. So if I'm boosting my own immune system, you know, we all know vitamin D is very useful. Vitamin D, you get out in the sun, you download your vitamin D. If that isn't possible because people are shielding in a flat, then I would suggest that there's a supplement. Okay, mushrooms are great for vitamin D, but not everyone likes mushrooms, and I don't mean the magic kind.
They're also good, aren't they, for diabetics when they get a spike? Trust you to bring some magic in there.
Just wanted to point that out.
Safe drugs.
Vitamin C is useful for the immune system, magnesium and zinc. I would be looking at a slightly different diet plan though, if you know you have operation, because things like goji berry is very high in vitamin C. Add those in. Have a smoothie. You need to have omegas. Your essential fatty acids are very, very important, and that will help you to repair quicker. So your salmons, your oily fishes, very important. Flax, if you've got, if you're vegan, flaxseed, very good.
Oh, I love that in my breakfast smoothie on a morning.
Yeah, and it's a very easy way of adding it into your diet to get those extra omegas in there. And protein, we need protein. Protein is a building block of everything within the body. So you need to ensure that you have protein. If you're vegan, make sure that you are getting a very good source. So tofu, tempeh, get a vegan protein. You can buy them online if you can't get one, from a supermarket. But you need to ensure that those are boosted as much as possible. So, I mean, a nice variation in your diet, fruit and vegetables. People have been struggling to get hold of those in a lot of cases. We struggled for the first couple of weeks to
But
get.
it doesn't matter, does it? Whether they're fresh, frozen,
No,
or tinned, as long as you're getting them.
not at all. But I mean, that's one of the things we struggled with, because we couldn't get any tinned and we couldn't get any fresh, because everybody had kind of gone, I really need to get all these stocked in my cupboard. Now it's a lot easier. There's some great boxes of fruit and veg being created by various good food, grocers, and they're available now, which is brilliant. But any dietitian or nutritionist would say you need to have a massive difference in colours on your plate, because if you eat a blandly coloured diet, you will end up with the same nutrients. So you miss out on your macro and your micronutrients that are available.
This makes me smile because I belong to the Horbury WI, and we often collect food monthly for the local food bank, and I call it beige food.
Yeah.
Everyone provides things like spaghetti, tinned stuff that I wouldn't buy and feed myself. But you think, if I can just give that little bit back to the community, then I'm doing my bit. But I think of my friend Deborah. She's awesome. She messages me and says, I'm going to Horbury, I'm going to buy some food. What do you want? What's on your shopping list? And I'll say broccoli, and there'll be some broccoli left on my doorstep. And she'll say, that was pretty random.
But the thing about broccoli is that if you could extract the nutritional value of broccoli and put it into a capsule, it would be the most useful capsule you could possibly have. But you
capsule broccoli on the food shelves.
Just the nutritional value of it, not the actual not a capsule of broccoli, because that's bizarre. But if you think of the nutritional benefits from broccoli, you can't eat enough. Really, that's one of the biggest issues, because the quantity you need to have. It's like when people talk about superfoods. Superfoods are great, but they're not miracles. You have to be realistic about the quantities you need to have an effect. So things like a green tea capsule to get your flavonoids and your antioxidants is probably a good idea if you're trying to boost that part of your immune system, because you can't drink physically the same amount of green tea as you would get in the capsule.
Yes.
Actually, if you're struggling to include the different nutrients, there's nothing wrong with a supplement, and you're absolutely right. Tinned, frozen, fresh, it doesn't matter, because certainly the technology we have now, the nutrition is maintained in a frozen vegetable because of the way that they process the whole thing. So the broccoli is interesting. I'm just going to stay on broccoli for a second. Imagine miniature trees on your plate, because talking about fat loss, it is one of the most useful nutritional supplements. It contains something called diindolylmethane, which
break it down.
I'll call it DIM. DIM.
Thank you.
what it does is it helps you to balance hormones and reduce abdominal fat. So if you're wanting to get broccoli in your diet, there's another reason to make sure you include it. So
I don't feel so bad about asking for random broccoli. My body was craving it because I love broccoli in soups, in stews, in stir fries, you name it. And because of lockdown, I don't mind holding my hand up. The stalks at the bottom, I even use and cook in soups. Before
mhm,
I would, I would cut that off and throw it away. And my friend Deborah said, "Are you sure you don't need some more veg?" But what I was doing was probably what they did in wartime, if they had freezer facilities. I was blanching everything into portions in the freezer
yeah,
so that I knew that nothing would go off, and I was food optimizing.
mhm,
Um, More so when I was seeing and hearing the news that people were panic buying, and the TV just showed me empty shelves, and I was thinking, how long can I last on what's in my cupboards? But I am getting such a buzz every time I empty a jar or some herbs that have been in there for years. And I'm doing the same stuff with shampoo and all of these creams, etc., that I just never would have seen the bottom of. And
yeah.
it's just such a thrill when I stick it in the bin and it's used.
You know, 56% of the UK are now not wasting food like they did prior to the pandemic.
And I've always been quite anal about recycling and upcycling. I drew the line at the base of a broccoli, but even I've changed on that one. Things like plastic bottles, I was very much into recycling and making those into the eco bricks. So any cellophane, anything that came cling wrapped, went inside these bottles of used water. Now, obviously, that has literally all gone in the bin because of spread of germs, etc. But I've always really prided myself on being smart. I
Mhm,
unfortunately have a neighbour who doesn't seem to manage with his outside bin. There's always like 10 sacks outside. And I've been quite timid and scared about how do I approach this without getting a fist fight. And the other day I just said to him, with the virus and things being a bit locked down, how do we get into this situation why there's so much garbage outside?
mm.
And he said, well, as a family of four, we throw away a lot. We have a lot of refuse. And I was like, yeah, but do you know what? In the past, I've been to the tip twice to empty all your rubbish. How do you get rid of it? And he said, oh, we just put it in bags and stick it outside and hope someone will remove it. And I just thought, oh man, what kind of education do you need? And I asked
Mm,
him, what do you put in each bin? And they didn't have separate bins and they didn't recycle.
mhm.
And at the end of about 15 minutes, he said, oh, I never thought that you could do that. God, that gets me onto a whole different topic, recycling. Different in every county.
It is, and that's a big problem, isn't it? Fly tipping, the bins being open. There is more rubbish, definitely, because people are at home more.
Yeah.
But I think I've always been a person who, and if Tony's watching this, he's going to laugh, right? Because if there's a suggested date on perhaps a loaf of bread, Tony would always be of the mindset of you can't eat that because it's been past. Oh, is that your dog?
Yeah. Do you mind if I just come back?
No.
Sorry. It might be a pharmacy delivery or broccoli. Won't be a moment.
Oh dear, I'll have to answer your question now, Alyssa, while we're waiting for Sarah to come back. You can put broccoli into a smoothie. The problem with broccoli raw is that it's very difficult to digest because it's extremely fibrous. So because it's fibrous, in a raw state in a smoothie, you might find that you're going to really, really blitz it quite a lot. I would probably tend to stick it in a stew or add it into something else rather than put it in a smoothie. It's cucumber is great, and of course cucumber is great for getting rid of water that you're retaining. So it's a diuretic, which is marvelous, but it's got a really nice fresh taste to it as well. I quite like that, and I tend to add a bit of basil in my smoothies. So I do strawberry, cucumber, and basil, which is a really nice flavor combination. I'm going to run out of things to say now, aren't I? If I'm talking to myself, mind you, I should be used to this. But yeah, so I hope people are finding this useful. And if you've got any other topics that you would like us to talk about, don't forget you can let us know anytime in the week. And we've got quite a few scheduled. Next Monday, we will be having a chat with the authoress, Jackie Buxton. We're going to be talking to her about writing, creativity, about how to use creative writing while we're in lockdown as a therapeutic tool. And that's one of the things that we're going to do next Monday. But if you've got a topic that you want us to talk about, let us know. Could be anything. Could be, as long as it's not fashion. Fashion is going to be a difficult one for me. But there you go.
Apologies. That was, yeah, lovely Deborah. And she's kindly collected some flowers for lovely Caroline, whose birthday is today. Hence the reason why I've got flags all around my room, because we're having that tea party at 4 o'clock, all in our front rooms, to celebrate her birthday.
21 years young, isn't she?
Yes.
I answered Alyssa's question about broccoli in a smoothie while you were gone. And then I just suggested that if there's any topics people want us to talk about, then quite happily put suggestions in. And I have done the announcement that Jackie will be joining us next Monday.
Awesome.
To talk about creative writing as a therapy tool during lockdown, and some hints and tips on how we can get started. Because I'll be honest with you, following our conversation that we had with her, I haven't actually put pen to paper other than to scribble down some notes. So yeah, that would be. Don't tell her that what I was supposed to, because she'll be like, I've not done my homework.
Now I feel guilty because I haven't either. The only notes that I've been writing have been around work stuff. And when I say work, it's obviously I don't work for a living, but it's more about support mechanisms, policies and procedures, how we help people with our current environment.
Yeah.
And I think words are really something that we need to focus on at this time, because there's so many negatives in the media that we have to be kinder to each other. If things take longer in time scales, they take longer. There's so much going on for us all. It's like the world has just stopped, and we're not all going to get what's going on, but we have to make allowances for each other. There's not a lot of positive language at the moment, is there, Emma?
No.
I mean, I don't get me on politics. I'm not going there. But different countries and things about toxicity and poisons, that isn't helping. I just want to cleanse myself with a positive diet. I've been made to feel guilty for not doing exercise today, so I'm right on it. After my afternoon tea.
Yeah. So we're both in trouble because we've not done our writing homework. We're not doing enough exercise. Oh, this is going well. Yeah, brilliant. Thanks for the chat.
It's been a motivation, though.
It has. No, it's good. It's been very good. I think useful. But I think if we were leaving from today on a message, what would your message be?
Be kind. Enjoy the weather. If it was absolutely pouring it down, we'd be miserable. That's yet to come. I know the weather's going to change, but listen to the birds and the bees. It is so loud out there without all that traffic on the road. We don't normally notice these things. Make time to enjoy your food. Try a recipe that you've not done before. Try and do something for yourself each day. Self-love, self-care is really important. If we don't look after number one, then what's the point?
Absolutely.
And do something that's nice for somebody else. Pick up the phone, send them a message. I know
Send them some broccoli.
Sorry?
Send them some broccoli.
Yay! It's been a green day today.
Yeah, no, I think that's lovely. So I think absolutely communication. Talk to somebody you've maybe not talked to for ages, and I think we all need to help each other get through this. And some people find it more difficult than others, and we trying to acknowledge that and be aware of who the people are that maybe are struggling a little bit. That's let's be mindful of how other people deal with situations. And then our main message from today is to make sure you get anything checked out that you need to. But yeah, if anyone's got any topics that they want us to chat about, or anyone can come up with any ideas of how Alyssa can sneak broccoli into Simon's diet plan, that would be great.
Firstly, don't tell him.
I reckon just chop it up really, really small and pop it into his chili or something. You'll never notice. Yeah, and Monday we'll be back, and then any other sort of things we're going to do, we're going to sort of share those as we go along. But I've really enjoyed it, and I hope everybody's found it quite useful. And yeah, I think that's. I don't really know how to say anything else.
Have a good week, guys. Make the best of every moment.
Right? Are we supposed to say stay safe, stay inside?
Lock yourself up.
Don't watch the news more than once a day, and we'll spread some positivity.
Yes. Take care.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.